So, welcome to the second ever Pros FC Talks podcast. It's the second ever because we recorded the first, but 2 hours later, everything completely changed. So, everything was outdated. Hence, we decided not to publish the first one. So, here we are doing the second one, which will actually be the first one for you guys. A lot has happened during these past few days, but before you can actually go on to something called the Super League and what it is and what were the ramifications, we would actually want to talk about Tottenham Hotspur and the sacking of Jose Mourinho. What do you guys think about why was Mourinho sacked according?
I mean, I'll take you up
So
on that.
according, Achal.
Like, I mean, look, as far as I know, what the Tottenham's official statement is that it's not related to ESL. It sounds a little sketchy because, like, I know, like, Tottenham wasn't performing maybe up to the mark, but they had very important games lined up, and like, suddenly sacking their manager in midweek when there were no games to put a result to sounds pretty, let's say, not so normal. Like, yeah.
Yeah, so there were initial reports stating that Jose Mourinho refused to train his players and thus got sacked by Levy. But then Jose himself confirmed that it wasn't so, and the club revealed and club published their official statement saying that it was due to the recent run of results in which in the last 5 games the Spurs had lost or drawn from winning positions considerably. Personally, I think it wasn't related to the Super League because uh, they weren't playing exactly well. They were losing to smaller teams quite easily. The Super League club was losing to smaller teams quite easily. And having that new manager effect and sacking Jose right before the Carabao Cup final in somewhat made sense to me because the dressing room was tainted and the manager had lost the faith of every player except Harry Kane, as per reports.
I want to pose another question to you guys. Is that Jose Mourinho is a perennial winner. He has won for every trophy there is. And he had taken the Tottenham team to a final, and this could probably be it was probably the best chance of winning a trophy since the Champions League final. Could be the first trophy in 13 years, and he had got them there. So don't you feel that it was a bit sketchy the timing of it, where he was sacked just a
So
week before the final,
he was,
and not only
in
that,
my opinion,
uh, Ryan Mason, the youngest ever manager, was put into place without this. Doesn't it, everything doesn't add up here according to me, and I think it is because of the Super League.
so they had reached the Carabao Cup final quite a long time back in almost December. At one time, they were the Premier League leaders, which was game week 10 to 12. But since then, the performance levels have dropped considerably. Without Harry Kane, the team is almost nothing. Jose's team were being a perennial winner was because his teams were built on strong defenses. And since his second spell at Chelsea, his spell at United, and his spell at Spurs, they haven't been exactly good. He won 2 trophies with United, but that's about it. Also, Ryan Mason appointed was for a new generation of playing style. He's allowing the Spurs side to play freely, and as we saw over the weekend, they overcame a halftime deficit to win 2-1. Had a shout turned down, so they're playing, and Harry Kane wasn't there, which I don't think Jose would have been able to do. And also, as I stated, he had lost the dressing room, so the sacking was inevitable. And just before a cup final to boost the morale, to help to help everybody in the dressing room and increase the performance level, I think it was the right decision.
I mean, finally, I think Bale is getting to play. That is what I'm excited about. And under Jose, I think he got like a little underlooked, to say the least. And now in the last match, he scored. And finally, I think this might be his like comeback era. Even though he has been playing well, but I think under the shadows of other players, like as Arav said, Harry Kane, it was a little sketchy of how or where would fit in the team. I mean, but doesn't it sound very sketchy about like the whole ESL, how ESL was established and then UEFA threw out so much shade at it, and then UEFA is now proposing the 20 league game. I mean, what do you think? Like, is the 20 league a sustainable idea? The 20 teams in one league and then we decide on something. I don't know. I don't have the exact.
So
No, I,
the
I want
ESL
to be
was
devil's
started.
advocate here. I want to pose another question. Like, was this, this Super League, when it was brought up, it looked like an idea which was in progress for a long period of time, and they announced it because they were ready to go forward with it. And they completely scrapped the thing within 3 days. Was it could it be masterminded by UEFA to make its new Champions League format say less hated rather than so it would be less hated than the Super League format? Because if this format was announced during announced during normal times, this people would there will be massive backlash against it. But now because the Super League has been scrapped, there isn't a lot of backlash. Could it be a UEFA tactic?
No, so now that fans have they've attacked the Super League, I believe they believe they have enough power to go after UEFA itself. So after the ESL was disbanded, the idea was disbanded. What happened was that the fans believed that FIFA and UEFA were just as corrupt as the ESL. The ESL was started by Perez because Real Madrid were in massive debt. United had lost over 400 million in the pandemic. So it was a scheme of the owners, of the American owners, to bring all the big clubs together and gain the TV rights in order to gain extra money and silver line their pockets. Fans didn't want that because they believed that it would hurt the history and tradition of their beautiful game, and which almost everybody on this earth accepts except the owners and Perez, who's still believing the idea that the Super League is on a hold and it will go on in the future. The
We still
UEFA
have
Champions
three
League has
teams.
36. The I don't think they'll play in with three teams.
Look,
The
the
UEFA
idea of
Champions League has 36 teams. So it is very similar, but not so similar to the Super League because it's including smaller teams and it's giving them an opportunity to qualify. And the merit-based qualification system is under huge scrutiny right now by the fans, as I stated that they believe they have enough power to do so.
Now, yesterday we were rejoicing that the Super League is finally gone, but Papa Perez, as people like to call him, gave an interview to Larguero, stating, and this is reported by Fabrizio Romano, so extremely reliable, probably the best journalist there is in football, according to me. He said, and I quote, Juventus and AC Milan have not left the Super League. Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus, and AC Milan are still in talks to find solutions. If this project didn't work, another one will. Remember, all 12 clubs signed a binding contract. He also said that I think one of the six Premier League clubs wasn't really convinced of the project, and it became really contagious to the rest of them. Nobody has yet paid the penalization fee for leaving the Super League. We are almost still in this, and nobody has officially left yet.
yeah, I mean, look, the thing about ESL and the whole thing that went down is that nothing is concrete about it. How it was formed, we don't know. We just know that these six people and then further on 12 people got together, formed a league, and then had big plans about it. It hasn't been officially called off. I mean, it still has three teams which are yet to give out a statement. Rather than saying that they haven't, it's more like they are still in progression or discussions with whoever I think Perez, right? Now, my question here is, I mean, I don't know about how this should go on, but let's say ESL is called off. Isn't there a second, like, let's say a clause because these 12 teams agreed to it and then they're leaving it? Isn't like as Madrid was already financially suffering, even Madrid and Barcelona, won't they suffer more now? Like getting into a league which they don't even play for and now penalize, like get paying a penalty or like something else.
Okay, so they were in such a bad financial situation because of their massive stadiums not being filled due to the pandemic. So what's being projected is that from next season, fans will be back. Real Madrid's 74,000 or now the new state, the rejuvenated stadium that they're building will be almost 1 lakh people in it. So that's gonna produce massive returns in terms of finances. Barcelona's Camp Nou, or the temple of football, has a capacity of almost 99,000 people. So once the fans come back, once the shirt sales increase, like people go to the stores, people buy the shirts, everything will increase. The financial status of the clubs will come back to normal. But it will take some time. They tried to join the ESL for this particular reason because they had
You
vision
know,
of it
according to
that
me,
they'd
I think
line.
I think there's a much more deep-rooted reason to this. If Florentino Perez, he is not like Ed Woodward, who's there because of the owner, because the president of Spanish clubs are voted by fans, and I don't know how many people know this, but I think about 10 years ago, when Jose Mourinho was manager, Real Madrid tied up with Rack Marjan Construction for a sports resort project in Ras Al Khaimah, an emirate of the UAE. And what the Real Madrid tactic behind that was, they all they were doing is giving their licensing right. That means they were just giving their name and they were receiving money without putting a single penny into the project. Now the project didn't go through, but it was something. So what I feel is that this Perez's ideology always stays the same, where he does not want to put a penny in, but by just using the Real Madrid name, he wants money. That's how he got the Fly Emirates deal. Uh, then during Jose Mourinho's reign again, they went to Kuwait City to play a one-off match during the preseason, for which they got 3 million. And then before this whole Santiago Bernabeu revamp started, they a revamp before that was also projected, where the naming rights of the stadium was going to go to some bank. I forgot the name, but again, it was a Middle Eastern bank, and they were going to finance the whole construction. So, and that too fell off because the bank went bankrupt. So I think Real Madrid's agenda is always the same. And the only funny part about this is that the fans of Real Madrid wanted the Super League to happen. Except for England, it was either well received in Spain or not really cared about in Italy.
To be fair, football is reaching at a stage where the money factor is playing in. Like, let's say, like if one looks at it from the ESL perspective, they can see that UEFA and FIFA only barked in the whole matter. Like it's going on since 1980 when it was first proposed, and now it's like finally got some line because it finally happened. And the first people before the fans were UEFA. Like the chairman literally hosted a conference next day and said, "This is split in the fan of fans and all." But like fans is the medium. To be fair, UEFA itself is a very good business model if you think it through. They're like continuously doing these matches at a gap. They're ESL but with the fans cooperation. Let's say if tomorrow UEFA goes forward to the next plan, and let's say it is somewhat similar to it and not approved by fans, they will face a backlash too. But like because UEFA is the original founding body, I doubt they will like get the scrutiny, get like revoke their actions per se. To be like, we are in a stage where people call football either too long and then talk about how money might change it. But in my opinion, like for the past 5 years I've been following football, I believe football is at a stage where it is continuously growing. Maybe it's not in this legacies, or maybe it's in not in its Messi slash Ronaldo phase, but it's in one of those phases where you have to go through to go like grow. I'm like, what do you think is like football and money something that we have to be
So
accustomed to?
two things. First, I don't think UEFA's new 2024 scheme will face as much backlash as the Super League did, because for the simple fact the Super League had only 15 teams and 5 more members who would qualify. The new Champions League format will have 36 teams. It will have still have those 32 current teams who will be qualifying. It will just have the 2 more of the big 6 English clubs. So that's where a bit of the backlash is going to come from, which has already started on all social media. Second of
Uh,
all, in my opinion, that's what world football is headed towards. If you have played a game like Dream League Soccer, you know that there's so many divisions in it, with all the top clubs stashed in the first division, the second level clubs in the second division. So I think that's what world football is headed towards. Not right now, maybe in 20 years, maybe in 30 years, who knows, maybe in 5 years under Perez. So, and sponsoring the TV rights in Asia, in UK, in US, they could earn a lot that way. So in my opinion, that's what world football is headed towards, in the foot, so that everyone can enjoy high quality football and finances could be taken care of too.
Arjun, what do you think? Okay, then I think Arjun can expand more on this. I mean, he has, I think, like we were having this talk before this podcast, and then I believe, like, look, football and money is a good factor, but one has to realize. I mean, even as you said, Dream League soccer and all, like what Perez did does not seem justified, but is like UEFA is using that and moving into this a similar direction, if not the same. Like they are gonna.
But sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to ask something again. Barcelona and Real Madrid are the pioneers of the Super League, but Barcelona and Real Madrid, if you look at it, unlike England or say Italy, most of their fans are not what we call hardcore fans who supported the club for X X number of years, say 40, 50, 60 years. The supporting is passed down by family like it is in England or Italy. Isn't that for Spain? If you see, then most of the fans who come to the games are either tourists or they just wanted to see Messi or Ronaldo before. That is how most people became Real Madrid fans because of Ronaldo, and that is why most people became Barcelona fans because of Messi. And that is what Perez was saying that we want because he knew that he did not have those many loyal fans, not loyal but lineage fans as there are in England for all the clubs. He wanted to go to the UAE or Asia where the following is massive, where they would not come to see Real Madrid or Man United or Barcelona. They would either come for Bruno Fernandes or Lionel Messi or say Sergio Ramos. That is what he wanted because they didn't have enough loyal fans.
Like isn't that what football has been like? When let's throw back 20, 40, 50 years, when Ronaldinho or Pele or like other footballers were there, it was these big names that brought like a flair to the game. Like tomorrow, let's say right now, Dortmund and PSG are manifesting such great players like Mbappe and Haaland. We never know what they might turn out, but like future generation will know these football players before they actually know the football itself. That's how even I have grown up to be. I started with Messi before I actually followed anything. And I mean, my concern is that instead of inspirations of players, if this starts going as a franchise of money, like money minting, is that really what fans have actually stood for, or is that why ESL actually got cancelled? If UEFA does the same thing, or if FIFA proposes something similar in the next 4 or 5 years, what was the point of
So
actually?
on the point of Real Madrid, AC Milan, and Barcelona still staying in the Super League, Barcelona is still there
Juventus.
because the board. No, Barca is still there too. Juve are
Yeah, even
still there.
Juventus is
Yeah.
there.
So
Because
Barca is going to leave. 99% sure that Barca is going to leave because the board is going to vote against it under Laporta, who was always against the idea, but Bartomeu had signed them up because of the massive financial concern. AC Milan, I think they're staying because it's I don't want to say washed up club because they're second in the Serie A, but before the previous 10 seasons, they weren't exactly doing too well. And financially, this was a great opportunity for them, so their fans aren't concerned. Real Madrid under Perez is obviously there because it was his
You know,
vision.
I have
And
some figures for you which will shock everybody, and that supports your point about Milan staying in it. If you see, according to Deloitte, the top earning clubs bracket, AC Milan is 30th in the world, and I'll tell you what clubs are above AC Milan. Milan earns 148.5 million pounds a year its revenue, and clubs like Eintracht Frankfurt, Napoli, Lyon, Everton, Schalke, Zenit St. Petersburg, everyone are above them. These are only some clubs. There are 10 more clubs which are above them. I think it just
so
supports it.
Real
Saying
Madrid also stayed.
Milan just want
On
more
those
money.
figures, Real Madrid also, yeah. So on those figures, Real Madrid also, their expected earning this year without the pandemic was 900 million pounds, almost £1 billion. It's dropped to 600 million pounds.
Yeah,
They're reporting losses.
691.8 to be exact,
Yeah,
which
they're
is not.
reporting historically large losses. So I can see why they're there. United were too, but United are more fan-led team, if I want to say.
I
So
mean,
I
like,
can see why they pulled out
but like
by the
again,
influence of the Big
I think
Six.
it was only because of the owners they went in. All three American owners, Don W. Henry, the Glazers, and Stan Kroenke. It was
Stan
the
Kroenke, Henry, and Liverpool's Henry,
Glazers.
JP Morgan.
I think they wanted, they did not want Man United to be a club, but wanted it to be a franchise because
Yeah.
that is what all of them knew with the Boston Red Sox or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
before we like move on further or like wrap this up, I wanted to know like each one of your opinion on this. ESL more or less off, right? The fans stood up and it's a great victory for football as a whole. Now what? Like, do we move forward with the UEFA plan? Do we think that it's one of those ESL kind of charts where like these are the same clubs earning for money, or is this another
So
UEFA thing?
UF,
Like
You know,
UEFA's plans are intended
you both
to
know
come
about the
in
two wildcard entries
2024.
in the new UEFA format.
hmm?
The two wild, the format they released. Do you know about the two wildcard entry system?
Enlighten
Where
us.
yeah, so this is so I'll tell you more about it. In the new UEFA format they released, there was something called a wildcard entry system in it, where the clubs with the two biggest coefficients who hadn't qualified with the Champions League would qualify. That means that this year it would be Spurs and Arsenal. The clubs were outside the Champions League spots, but had the highest coefficients, the two highest coefficients would still come into the Champions League. So what it means that if say a United finishes sixth, it would still come in because it has the highest coefficients of all of the other clubs. So it's basically guaranteeing all the big clubs getting into the Champions League, which is not very different from this format.
So yeah, so that's what I was saying, that the new UCL format will kick in 2024. There's still 2 years of possibly change of heart to be had.
I mean, I think
So I don't
ESL
think that's
would
the
have
final plan.
no. I think ESL would have gone for a trial run if the backlash wasn't this severe. Like I'm sure in a year they would have for the next season they would have like obviously pulled that off because fans wouldn't support it. But then again, if UEFA is doing the same thing in the long term, I don't think we can really draw a line which organization stands for the fans. Like Perez had this obviously profound idea to say the least that football is too long, which I'm totally against. I still think 90 minutes is too less. But then again, I like one part of him actually stood up for what quote unquote the fans want. I would expect that UEFA does something like that because racism is a key factor in UEFA that it's so severe that even the players, when ESL was like actually announced, the only concern UFP players like I believe Delhi Ali had with UEFA was that UEFA might stand up for when it's getting robbed of its own game, but wouldn't stand up if something is happening in its own game. So like
Uh, I think we need to move forward now. Otherwise, we won't be able to cover most of the content. Otherwise, it was a riveting discussion before that, and I think given the time we would have discussed about it for years. Another big thing that happened: Ed Woodward would be gone the end of the year. Massive relief for all Man United fans. He wasn't a bad guy, but he was just a
So
banker, not a football
yeah.
guy. Yeah, continue.
So Ed Woodward was going to leave the club at the end of 2022. It was done, but his resignation was brought forward because of the backlash faced, and especially due to Catherine calling him out, calling him a snake and a plain old liar. So I don't think United would keep him at the club just because their reputation would be even more tainted, and the fans absolutely detested him being there.
But don't you think it is the owners is the problem? Because even if this guy Woodward goes, they just put another investment banker who will just look for the revenue
So
opportunities and not look for signing players or the betterment of the club.
Woodward was a major part in the ESL too, so he had to go. the Glazers are facing a lot of backlash, even though Joel Glazer came out this morning and he publicly apologized for the first time since 2005. He's actually come out and spoken to the fans since the takeover in 2005. So this is new stuff. So he came out and apologized to the fans, calling it a grave mistake. But he was met with extreme protests where more than 24 fans entered United's Carrington training ground, took over the first team training field and demanded to speak with Ole. So what happened was Ole, Michael Carrick, and Nemanja Matic ended up speaking to those fans, and later the police escorted them away. But this shows that the fans are absolutely against, if they were not before, they are certainly now against the Glazers. And according to reports, 1 to 2 owners as are like contemplating throwing the towel in and selling the clubs.
I mean, if
But I don't think the Glazers are actually going to sell the club.
if
Because
Woodward
Woodward
goes, let's say, like, he's leaving,
actually buying the club.
who is a replacement
And
for Woodward?
he was the one who negotiated a deal with JP Morgan, which helped the Glazers buy the club. He was under David Gill, who was one of the best chairman Man United ever had. And when he retired, he took over as co-executive vice chairman, which the role does not make any sense to me. But yeah, I think the Glazers will just appoint another financially minded investment banker who just look to run the club in a very revenue centric kind of manner and not a football centric manner.
I mean, like, look, this is something we are still in quite a mystery of what has happened. And oftentimes in football, we don't get the clear picture of everything. But who do you think will be the best replacement, if you have any? I mean, I read news and I saw Edwin van der Sar.
Yeah, I think that's the
Yeah,
best.
yeah, I think that is the best
the
call here.
Ajax man, former United keeper.
I think he
But I
wants
don't think
to, but I don't think the Glazers will bring any football minded person. A couple of months ago, or even just a month ago, they appointed John Murta as sporting director and Darren Fletcher as football director. And I think the move of John Murta, he was already with the club since the past 8 years. He had come with Moyes from Everton in 2013, and they just want the optics to be good and people to think that yes, we are actually doing something while they're not.
I think that is almost everything that has happened this week, except maybe I can't recall anything else. I think
And I think it is also the fans who haven't put enough backlash against the Glazers to actually make them leave. There is a protest. Uh, there is a protest going to be held outside Old Trafford this Saturday at 7 GMT. And you know, even though I do not like Liverpool or their fans at all, this is somewhere I would like to commend Liverpool and their fans, because when they come together and they force the last owner out, if they want, they'll actually come together and force John W. Henry and the FSG out if they want to. I don't think United fans have this. I can't say solidarity, but the wherewithal to actually do that. But they wanted to get the Glazers out since they actually came in. Even though they were winning Champions League, it papered over all the clash. Papered over all the clash. What do you think about this, Arav?
so. Yeah, it did paper over the cracks, but I don't think the Glazers are going to end up leaving the club anytime soon. Even if, unless the right bid comes in from the Saudi takeovers that were rumored a couple of months ago, if the right offer comes in again, I think they're going to accept it. But otherwise, no.
Why is United so undecisive at times? I'm like wondering, as a spectator, not a United fan, so like.
And another thing which I completely forgot to say. Did any of you read Ed Woodward's resignation statement? Normally, if you write a
There was something about how he's invested so much in the club.
resignation statement, you thank the club, you thank the owners, you thank the players. Here it is almost like he's boasting about himself. He said, "When I was with the club, we spent £1 billion while they took in 1.5 billion. So it was 500 approximately a 500 million pound locker. He wouldn't say that. Then he also said that during my time, players like Marcus Rashford, um, Axel Tuanzebe, Mason Greenwood have come into the first team. That is not your thing. You should thank their families, not you. You should not be credited for getting them in. And he's talking like those are his achievements of being there. That we spent this much money, we got these players in. And during his 11 years, yeah, 11 years, no, 8 years, we have only won 3 trophies or 4. Not, I should say 3, not counting the Community Shield, but 4. It isn't really an achievement for the club of the stature of Man United, is it?
It definitely is not. So I'm hoping the Glazers go out, a better ownership comes in, and United is restored to the former glory.
Yeah, okay, finally, like let's just wrap this up on like a statement. We like if you have any on the whole week, a dramatic week in football indeed. So, what do you think? The what do you think will be the next topic for the next podcast if anything happens this week? What do you think is the outcome of ESL as a whole?
I think the Super League is not gone yet. I think we are rejoicing too quickly because Florentino Perez is a very wily person. He would not let this go, as he said in that interview. They have binding contracts, and he will not let them. And if not the Super League, he will try to coax them into another type of league, which in which they will handle the PR better. They will handle how the people get to know it, how everything works much better. And the owners, the Glazers, are not going anywhere. Neither is Stan Kroenke or John W. Henry, the FSG group.
So Stan Kroenke, you don't know because there's just been a deleted tweet by, I wouldn't say exactly top tier reporter, but a mid-tier reporter saying that Stan Kroenke is to sell Arsenal Football Club, and there's been more reports on Instagram saying that one Premier League owner is close to throwing the towel and selling his club.
Even Conor
Would be.
McGregor was gonna buy Manchester United.
He
I'm not
isn't
really.
rich enough.
I think this Super League thing will come back, or if not, this UEFA competition and its new rules will cause havoc because then people will actually start to see what this is about, will start to read between the lines what UEFA actually want, which is not very different in the Super League, except a lot more smaller teams can come in. But it is almost guaranteeing a place in the Champions League every year for Man United. Because even if they finish 18, their coefficient will still be the highest in Europe. Not the highest in Europe, highest in England, and they would still get in.
We have some speculations there. Then let's see the coming years, or maybe the coming weeks will tell us more. I think that's where we should wrap up. We have covered almost everything and more. So hopefully next week we'll have some more drama to put in.
Yeah, and let's hope United beat Leeds this weekend.
I'm supporting Leeds right now, so like let's see.
They're
Okay.
the only unbeaten team against the top 6 or the big 6 leads
Yeah. Okay.
We
See ya.
hammered Leeds 6-2.
See
at
ya.
home.
Okay. See ya.